Welcome home, brave heroes. I'm Ash. This is HeroQuest. Is the coffee making you nervous? It's making me a little bit nervous too. Hold on. There. Now there's less coffee in the cup and there's less to spill on my classic HeroQuest board. Today I wanted to do a sort of quick and dirty and casual and maybe slightly unhinged video on crossbows in HeroQuest, and I wanted to homebrew some solutions for you if you, as a Zargon, are finding the crossbow usage in your games to be a little excessive and perhaps making the game a little dull. We've got the classic HeroQuest board out here because of another video that I did. We have classic dice and we have classic doors. The rules as written kind of end there. Everything else I have up here is stuff that I've made. It's all homebrew junk, but just pretend that they are the regular monsters that come with your game, even if you only have the base game and no expansions, and you'll be totally perfectly fine. This is meant to be super accessible homebrew solution making time. But I guess since I know people are going to ask, by homebrew stuff, I mean that I have my Talisman 3rd edition miniatures here, which I bought solely to paint a beautiful Citadel red color to match my classic heroes, snip the ridiculous slaughtas off of their feet and put them on proper and civilized HeroQuest bases. And now I have homebrew HeroQuest heroes. And yes, I either have done that for every single hero by now, or I am planning to do that for every single hero by now, available from the Talisman boxes so that I can have some kind of modern, contemporary hero, old school proxy. Take a look at this druid, for example. This is the Talisman Druid, just a classic Warhammer City. This video is not about any of that. I just wanted to show you that, just in case anybody asked. The same goes for the monsters. I love old world rat ogres, so here's my rat ogre. He's going to be one of the targets on the board. We've got some Skaven clansmen, just very popularly available from Warhammer Fantasy Battles boxes. We've got a black orc, and we've got 2 lizard men, which are not from Games Workshop or Citadel at all. They're just fantastic sculpts, but they are from Dark World Village of Fear, which is honestly a great game too, in my opinion. All right, so we've got our party of Talisman heroes, and they've all got crossbows, which this is a pretty realistic situation. Your elf, your dwarf, and your barbarian can all buy crossbows. They have no restriction. The crossbow, rules as written, is a weapon that you can get at the armory. You might be able to find it during your adventures through the base game or expansions. It fires 3 combat dice worth of attack at your opponent, and this can be enough to decimate a lot of your enemies. So all 3 of your crossbowable heroes being able to wield a crossbow and picking off enemies at a distance is definitely within the rules of the game, but it could definitely be that this makes the gameplay slightly dull for the Zargon side, and the heroes might actually find it to be a bit dull after they've steamrolled so much and they're wanting more of a challenge. Now, I'm not saying that's the player's fault. The game facilitates this, but it is a bit of an ironic event that they make choices to grow and then they become very powerful and then they get bored because they were too powerful. I'm going to offer a number of solutions here. They are all wildly different, so adapt to your needs. This also goes back to a bit of a conversation had in the Discord where I suggested a bunch of ideas on the spot to somebody who really wanted to tone down the crossbow usage in their game, and I want a disclaimer that none of these are going to be original. Hundreds, if not thousands of people by now have likely come up with the exact same ideas for crossbows, just like they have for pretty much every other kind of homebrew in the game, but these aren't based on any specific or particular idea. I did not go out hunting for them. I just came up with these, and it's very likely that they're going to mimic unintentionally a lot of other folks that have come up with the same systems. But if you have come up with the same ideas, do drop them down in the comments below. I'd love to see how they actually played out because I haven't tested any of these ideas. So solution number 1, just talk to your players. Say, hey, I just want to let you know, the crossbows, you guys are really powerful. And at this point in the game, you're going to steamroll quite a bit. I mean, you could still lose your heroes due to bad rolls, or if I happen to get my monsters close enough to start attacking, and there are always traps which your crossbow can't protect you against. I want to let you guys know also that I have access to a rust spell, and if you're privileged enough, you can let them know that you have access to a twist wood spell. And in my opinion, both of those things should be enough to absolutely decimate the usage of a crossbow, but you may get rules lawyers kind of weighing in against that also. So that's totally understandable, and that's outside the scope of this video. If your players pretty much insist that they love the crossbows and they're having a good time, that's a great thing. The only con here is if you, Zargon, are not having a good time. You'd like to make the game fun for yourself too, and that's where the rest of these solutions come into play. So solution number 2 is going to be beef up your enemies. This is something that could quickly become difficult to balance consistently, so it's something that I would recommend you do somewhat sparingly. You might make it pretty clear during session 0 before your campaign begins. The crossbow is very powerful. So is the battle axe and the longsword. So is plate mail. If you guys all outfit yourselves, the 3 out of the 4 of you that can, with any one of these objects, the monsters will receive a permanent buff in order to kind of keep up with the Joneses. This being the case, if you all equip yourselves or possess a longsword, then the enemies will be able to attack diagonally. Maybe not all enemies, maybe just certain ones, like the skeletons, which I know is one of the homebrew toggles that you can enable in the HeroQuest Zargon app. If it's plate mail, not only are you going to be moving extra slowly, but that would be the perfect opportunity to say, all right, all goblins now have the move, attack, and move option, and they are able to get in and attack and move away, not just because they're kind of fast, but because you are just extra slow. And if everybody's got crossbows, well, guess what? Now all of the orcs have crossbows as well. Now, there is an official orc archer, just like there's an official goblin archer, there's a skeleton archer now, and they mimic the intent of the elf archer from Mage of the Mirror. But I want to clarify that we already do have precedent for orcs to have bows. We have orcs that are archers, but they have the stats of an orc. They are just able to attack with ranged weaponry. We see examples of this in the expansions to HeroQuest without the orc archer being a specific named type of monster with its own stats. It's nice to have those, but I do want to point out that it should be perfectly reasonable to give whatever weapons that exist in the game, in the armory, to any of the monsters and call that a variant that should now be able to appear on the board to make the game more fun. And that's the goal here, make the game more fun. If any of these options are making your game less fun in any way, making it more frustrating, making it more dull, making the character, or the players rather, go, I don't know about this, then it's time to kind of rethink. And then we go back to option 1, talk to your players. But if everybody is going to have a crossbow, they need to understand there is a consequence. The incredible popularity of crossbows in that region has enabled the monsters to get a hold of a caravan in between quests, and now all of the orcs are going to be able to fire them. I would just limit it to one type of monster. I would not be giving crossbows to the undead and the orcs and the chaos or dread warriors. Yes, you could give them other ranged attacks, but that's what I'm saying. Don't give everybody the ranged attack option. Just give it to one category of monster. And here I'm just using orc because orcs are pretty plentiful in the non-undead dungeons, and they seem the most likely to benefit from that kind of buff. Keep your goblins as little footballs for the barbarian to punt across the dungeon. Plus, if you only give your crossbow to certain monsters, then when the heroes go in single file and they open the door carefully, as they are wont to do, in order to reveal the contents of the room and begin doorway combat, you won't have every single monster in the room with a crossbow just firing, wailing away at the hero. That could actually be very difficult. You need these monsters to be able to follow the balanced process, somewhat as balanced as it can be, of moving in, attacking, and then that's the end of the turn because nobody else can get an attack in on the hero. Attack and then move out, and then have another monster move in and attack. That's about the most you can do as Zargon for doorway combat. But if you do introduce crossbows for a specific type of monster, then you do get that option to attack once or perhaps twice more with that kind of monster before the heroes are incentivized to actually come in and beat that monster down. Even better is if you can decrease that monster's defense dice, perhaps, because it will incentivize the heroes to do exactly this. No hero really wants to rush into a room full of monsters. It's a death sentence because now you have all of these adjacent squares and now you can get absolutely surrounded. This is the #1 reason why doorway combat happens, indirectly. But if the hero runs in and knows that they have a very good chance of destroying a monster, particularly one of these pain-in-the-neck Skaven that are using the crossbow against them in the doorway and are able to take them out in one hit, that's one less monster to worry about. They'll feel good for rushing into the room. They'll get that rush of endorphins for even trying. They'll feel extra good if they are able to take down the monster. They'll feel justified for being a melee combatant. And your other heroes can still participate in doorway combat if one or more of them are a lot weaker and need to be protected or shielded from the other monsters. This is not a video about addressing doorway combat specifically. I'm just highlighting that this situation will at some point happen. If your players are conservatively minded about how they risk themselves in combat. They're going to participate in this doorway nonsense, and there's really no getting around it because there are so many just single tile wide corridors, and of course the doorways are all single tile wide, so it's just part of the game. Option 3 is, just go grab Necron's power dice and use cards and stuff from the old world armory. I didn't really want to just shill one of the many available options out there, but I did want to kind of prepare you for option 4, and because that's really as simple as it gets with option 3, we're going to go to option 4. We're going to open the door on completing a crossbow homebrew system. Crossbows, rules as written, have infinite ammo. They can just fire away at enemies every time it's the hero's turn. There is no restriction on how frequently they can use them per quest. They don't need to reload them. I guess that's why I'm raising the second finger here. There's no reload time. There's no mechanic that has them pause. They can use them every single turn. And crossbows are extra dangerous because we don't have any official framework for equipping the heroes with either this or that, or what to do when the heroes have more than one weapon. You can, of course, decide this on the fly as Zargon. It's your game, but we absolutely have cases where the heroes can argue that they're allowed to have a crossbow and a broadsword. And when they go through and you have a monster move right up next to them, they don't have to lose their opportunity of attack. They can just use one of their melee weapons. So I don't want to fight against these points. I want to work with them. I want the heroes to be incentivized to buy more things, spend their hard-earned gold. And to do that, we're going to introduce, and this is the meat and potatoes of this video, as I like saying lately, new types of bows. I don't care if you want to call them long bows, short bows, self bows, crossbows, hand ballistas, whatever you want. You can introduce these things. For simplicity's sake, I'll simply say that they are different types of crossbows. But we are introducing poison and we are introducing fire. And maybe you're already homebrewing poison and fire into your games and you have a specific way that you want to handle those. So you can just replace these two things with any other term that you think would be appropriate for the actions that these things are going to introduce into the game. So you're at the armory and you would like to buy a new weapon that is available. It is the Crossbow of Poison. It's a very silly name, but just bear with me for a second here. It's a very silly phrase. It's like I'm trying to warn you that there is, in fact, bear with me, a giant animal in my room, and I need your help. Bear with me. I might get mauled or my picnic basket might get stolen. Bear with me. Help. Sorry, I did warn you this was going to be unhinged. By the way, how's this hand acting grabbing you? Getting a lot of those lately. More hand acting? Like, are you new to this channel? Do you not know? Keep my hands perfectly still. We'll see how you like that. I propose that you sell in the armory a special type of crossbow, and it's special because it can fire a special type of arrow or bolt. That arrow if it's going to be a bow, bolt if it's going to be a crossbow. To carry this special kind of ammunition for this weapon, the heroes will also have to buy a quiver. We're going to be introducing a few things this time around, so pay attention, bear Skaven with me. They will always be able to use their old crossbows. However, by introducing this new type of weapon, you can homebrew with it the restriction that they need to take up an action in order to switch to it from their regular crossbow, and they need to take an action if they want to switch to their regular crossbow from this weapon specifically. This sets a precedent and clear expectations that you're not messing with the existing game mechanics. You're adding something on top that they can choose to engage with or not. After all, if you've got to unload or unretract so it's not dangerous, I don't know crossbow terms, your existing crossbow and then pull out your new crossbow and then load that should reasonably take some time. If you'd like, you can say that they have to sacrifice a movement instead of an action. And you could do both of these too. So this hero is being pursued by the rat ogre and he's just going to get mauled if he tries to melee him. So he's trying to keep his distance. He wants to switch to his poison crossbow because that's going to give him his advantage in this combat. He can either load up the poison crossbow and then fire an arrow but not move, or he can move and then use an action to load up the crossbow and the monster is going to continue to gain on him. Completely up to you and how you want to handle that. I think both options would work out very, very well. What is the poison crossbow? What is a quiver? Why do we need a quiver? What is the ammunition thing? I don't know about you, but if I had 5 or 6 very deadly poison-tipped arrows, I would want to keep them very safely tucked away. And it could be that the acidity of the poison of the arrows would eat through a regular quiver, so we would need a special kind of quiver. When the heroes buy this special crossbow, they can fire 2 bolts. That's all they can hold until they buy a quiver. That gives them the immediate enjoyment of being able to own this thing and use it. If they have the money to sink into a quiver, they can buy the quiver, and the quiver will only hold this special kind of ammunition. And this makes sense because regular crossbow ammunition is infinite. We don't have any sort of item to limit that or hold bolts or anything because it's just not in the game and it is what it is. So what's the purpose of the quiver? The quiver will allow you to hold more bolts of the same type. So this is really just kind of a gold sink way, but it's also something to incentivize the heroes to build their characters out more. And if they decide that they like this playstyle, the playstyle of firing at ranged with a poison crossbow, and later on down an ice crossbow and a fire crossbow and all of that, then it gives them a lot to look forward to, and it makes the game fun because it gives the customization to them. They're not just sinking gold into all of the things. They're sinking gold into a specific thing. There's so much to go over here. I know what you're thinking. Ash, they could still sink their gold into all of the things. Nope, you can control that too because these are homebrew weapons and they are available from the merchant. If they try to buy a second crossbow of that type, the merchant will tell them you will be over encumbered if you try to buy this because these crossbows are particularly heavy. Only one type of crossbow can be held by the hero at any given time, and that's another restriction that you can add if you would like for them to ditch their current crossbows. I don't know that I would do that. You might want to talk to them about that, or you might want to think about their playstyles up to this point, because if they've been using the crossbows, they might not want to switch to a limited homebrew system where they can only carry so many of each arrow and whatnot. You'd have to make the trade-off very worth it for them. And you don't want to make your new homebrew weapons too OP, or the trade-off will be worth it for them, but then we're back to square one. They're too strong, they're making the dungeons boring, etc. But skaven with me, I haven't talked about the mechanics of the crossbow yet. The special crossbow. I just wanted to explain the concept of the quiver and how that would allow them to carry more ammunition. And the good thing about the quiver is, after they buy the quiver, the only quiver size that's available, the next size up will now be available in the store at a cost that is a diminishing return for the heroes. So you could do a 3-arrow quiver to replace their default 2-arrow holding, they're just carrying them around in their pockets, I guess. This is going to cost them 200 gold. And the 5-arrow quiver, that's going to cost them 350 gold. You could make it 400 gold. Raise that price up just a little bit more every single time. Make it make sense. And don't give them a whole lot of improvement. Don't offer it to them all at once either. Give them a chance to play the dungeon with the limitations they have instead of allowing them to sink all of their gold into a bunch of purchases at the beginning and just completely overpowering themselves from the get-go. Alright, those quivers can be available once they have unlocked their special crossbows, and like I said, we can have multiples of these crossbows. We can have an ice crossbow, a fire crossbow, a poison crossbow. Those are the ones that are just off the top of my head. If any of those sound silly, just pick one. Alright, we've got our quivers all set up, so as soon as they run out of ammunition of that type, they're out. They have no more, they're done. When they start the next quest, you can decide, do you want them to be able to buy the ammunition, or do you want to go with the precedent that has already been set? The ammunition is free, and they just completely refill what they have. We can do that. Well, I'll actually go with that suggestion. In between quests, their arrow ammunition or their bolt ammunition is completely refilled up to the maximum of their quiver, plus the 2 they get for their crossbow. So if they have a poison crossbow and they're completely out of ammunition and they finish the quest and they don't have a quiver, boom, they get 2 bolts prepared for the next quest. Free. Done. If they have a quiver, a 3-bolt quiver, bam, it's full. Now they have their 5 bolts. They can go into their next quest with their 5 bolts. Done. All right, I've yapped about that enough. I think I got the point across. Poison quiver will not carry flame arrows or flame bolts. It just won't do it. You'll have to buy a separate quiver for that. You can decide if you'd like to put the restriction on the equipment that the heroes can only carry one of each type. I would kind of recommend it, and I would kind of suggest, hint to the heroes that they might each want to select a different one, and that way they can play around with the playstyles and they can trade amongst themselves throughout the quest if they would like to do that. Again, they're heavy things. Trading these things is going to cost them either an action or a movement, specifically these special crossbows and quivers. But this will keep heroes from passing ammunition to each other if they're not carrying the exact same type of bow, because if a barbarian has a flame crossbow and an elf has an ice bow, and the barbarian has all this extra ammo, but the elf really needs it, the elf is not going to get it from the other hero. Think about that too when you think about how much free ammunition you give them in between quests, or how much free ammunition they get with their weapon without using the quiver. because your heroes could decide, well, it might be more worth it for them to just all buy one of this special type of crossbow, and then they can give each other the bolts and the arrows. I don't want to take away too much from the heroes. If they want to do that, I would let them do that. But make them think about what they got to do in order to do that. All right, so we've got our poison crossbow. We've taken it into battle. We're ready to fire it at the enemy finally. What do? Well, I mean, you roll attack dice, of course. All right, so how do we improve on the crossbow, but how do we make it balanced in the same way that you might make a new weapon in Warhammer Quest balanced? That is to say, how do we give these guys the illusion that what they have is better and accommodates their playstyle, and also give them a little bit of a con, also make this a little bit more interesting? Well, we could take one of the attack dice away, and who in their right mind would trade 3 attack dice for 2? Well, you tell them, if they roll any successful skulls, they guaranteed hit the enemy. A guaranteed hit to the enemy does not reduce their BP, but in the case of a poisoned arrow or poisoned bolt, it will reduce the enemy's BP by 1 on that enemy's next turn, at the end of that enemy's next turn. Let me run you through this really quick. The barbarian rolls attack, the enemy rolls defense, and the enemy has not defended against anything, which means this arrow does hit the enemy and reduces him by 1 BP. Also, he's got a guaranteed hit because he rolled a skull. The guaranteed hit does not reduce BP on its own. It's just a sort of keyword that says this enemy has been hit by a poison-tipped arrow. He has been envenomed, empoisoned. The enemy's lost 1 BP this time around, and all the hero needs to do is keep his space until the enemy has reached the end of his next turn, at which point the enemy will lose a 2nd BP. If this kills the enemy, so be it. Now, a lot of enemies only have 1 BP, but this poisoned arrow mechanic will really make the heroes think about how they can affect enemies that have multiple body points. Here's how I would do it with the poison bow / crossbow. Feel free to sound off in the comments how you would do it if you were only limited to 2 attack dice. This is 2 attacks. They can be blocked by 2 black shields. This is normal, but because the hero rolled a skull, there is a guaranteed hit. It's been mitigated. It hasn't pierced anything vital. It grazed the enemy, not enough to take off a whole body point, but that enemy is poisoned even though he blocked the hits. You could do this differently if you want also. You can say that there is no such thing as a guaranteed hit. You have to be hit by the arrow, and if the enemy is hit, then they're poisoned. They'll lose a BP at the very end of their next turn. That's it. Could be as simple as that, and it provides the enemies a way to continue mitigating these new weapons by being able to block them if they roll black shields, which is already a difficult feat. You could also say that this arrow or bolt is a guaranteed hit if you roll a white shield for the skull that you roll. So if you roll this combination, white shield and skull and white shield, that is a guaranteed hit. The enemy could still block it if they have rolled a black shield. Maybe you'd like to say the enemy has guaranteed blocked it if they've rolled 2 black shields. In which case, some enemies are not going to be able to block it. Like your goblins are screwed, but I mean, that's fine, because goblins are screwed if you roll 2 skulls anyway. You could say that this guaranteed hit will not inflict any BP's worth of damage on the enemy, even though it's a skull, even if they don't block it, but I think that that is less interesting because it really makes this bow seem a lot more underpowered now than it really is. It's a very fine line, but you don't want to step behind it and move backwards too far. All right, so you could still do all this and add that 3rd dice in there to make this interesting if you'd like. So you can roll these dice. You could still do, okay, this could take up to 3 BP off the enemy if they are unable to defend against it. It's just the crossbow all over again. So I would not recommend doing it this way, but if you go through a couple of quests and you've explained the mechanics that you've chosen to apply to these weapons to your heroes and they still aren't buying them, then have one of your heroes find one in one of the quests that you play. Give them a taste of what this actually is like. And you don't have to give them that weapon for free. I mean, that's what we're doing. You don't have to let them keep it. You can say that it's in pretty bad damage, but it will survive the rest of this quest. I like doing that. I like saying you found a weapon, and it's the same weapon that's in the armory or on this equipment card. However, it is in bad condition, so after this quest, that weapon that you just found will break. It will be unusable. It won't be blacksmithable, repairable. It's just going to break, and then you're going to throw it away. So give them the awesome bow. Let them try it out. Apply all the mechanics to it that you would. Give them the necessary ammunition to use with it. Let them try it, and then after the quest, take it away. And then if they think they want to buy it, or the other players are like, okay, I see now how that worked in combat. I think that I would like to buy that bow myself. Now you've got the gears turning, and you are winning at the HeroQuest game, the real HeroQuest game, which is playing as Zargon. All right, I've yammered on enough about the poison bow. What would a fire bow look like? Firebow plays a little bit more with the guaranteed hits. So if you have a skull and you roll a black shield, that's going to be a guaranteed hit no matter what the enemy rolls in defense. So that's a guaranteed hit right there. You can say the enemy is going to lose a BP no matter what. If you think that this is not enough, fine, give them the third die, but then again, we're back to square one. That's why I like taking that extra die away. We're reducing the brute force power of this thing, but we're applying an effect. And it's the effect that lends itself to the play style element of HeroQuest. I've heard some folks alter the way that the crossbow is used against enemies like the undead. There's not a lot of surface area on a skeleton to hit with an arrow, so I totally get it. We're kind of going into the smash slash stab attack types. These are damage types that I think were introduced in Dungeons & Dragons. Maybe they were introduced in other things, but the underlying concept is kind of a paper, scissors, rock. I don't want to get into that at this time. I think it's beyond the scope of the video, but I just wanted to say you could absolutely start introducing monsters into your game that are somewhat immune to the normal crossbow, and that would push your players more, incentivize them more into buying these special types of weapons. So a fire crossbow might not hit a skeleton, but the flames that are just coming off of it as it passes by are going to damage the undead. You could absolutely say if it is a fire crossbow, then it's going to add 1 skull to whatever you roll if they are rolling against an undead. So this would actually be 3 skulls. And if you completely failed in your roll, you still have 1 skull worth that you're firing. Be careful, that is a guaranteed skull that the hero is able to have when they are firing, but it is very situational because it is going to use one of their fire crossbow bolts or bow arrows. Jeez, Ash, you guys are lucky I'm in a hurry. Or maybe I'm lucky I'm in a hurry. You wouldn't think so. With the amount that I've been yammering on about this already, it's taken far more of my time than I thought it would. An ice crossbow might be very useful because if you can get a guaranteed hit in with the ice crossbow, the enemy's going to lose their turn. They've been frozen in spot. They cannot move. They could probably still attack for their next turn, but until the end of their next turn, they can't do anything. And having the status effect and the attack versus like the wizard throwing a spell, just having the status effect of losing a turn is so much more fun. Trying to cast a status effect on an enemy and having that fail just feels like such a weak sauce version of any spell, and HeroQuest has that in spades. The buffs too, but once you add a little bit of damage dealing to that, oh, the stakes feel good, the attack feels good, the landing of the attack feels good. Those are just some ideas, and I would encourage anybody to take those ideas, run with them, scale them out, see how they play at your table. Give your players free versions of these weapons to see if they like them, have them break at the end of the quest or after a few uses, gauge their reactions and how they discuss things, and offer new equipment for sale at the armory. And you don't even need power dice to be able to do that, but if you do have the power dice, then you are looking at an entire world of homebrew that is far beyond the scope of this video anyways. Introduce new things that the enemies could carry to mitigate the attacks from ranged sources, and keep things consistent. After all, if a flaming crossbow is going to fire a flaming arrow after the hero loads it from their flaming quiver, then it stands to reason that if that does add additional damage or guaranteed damage to undead targets, the wizard should enjoy that exact same benefit whenever they use their spells. You could definitely explain or shoehorn your way out of that one, but it wouldn't be as fun, would it? That's kind of everything that I wanted to say about crossbow homebrew, so I hope that this surprisingly lengthy topic has provided you with some inspiration on the subject, and I hope that you get the chance to try one or more of these out, or have already tried out some sort of solution to ranged weaponry, and if you have, please do feel free to share in the comments below. I would love to hear your experiences with ranged weaponry homebrew. Please do that. Share this video if you think another Zargon would like it, and I will see you in the next exciting adventure. Until then, brave heroes, I bid you a fantastic rest of your adventure, and farewell for now.